Hi, everybody. This is Shane Schulz. I am the creator and host of the Arisen Strength podcast, and we are using Arisen Strength to the utmost this evening. Turns out that Google seemed to have crashed on us, and so we actually lost the live feed, and that's why we had to take some time in order to start a whole new one. And thanks to Wayne, the hack producer here. We were able to do that relatively quickly, so I want to say thanks, Wayne.
Oh, you're welcome.
Wayne's good. We've already been through that, but I'm really excited about this show. Because it's part of May being the Mental Health Awareness Month. That's actually right in my wheelhouse when it comes to being a public speaker. In fact, I'm going to be speaking at Samaritan Hospital in Troy, New York, this Friday, talking from a patient's point of view. I'm going to be talking with clinicians, nurses, psychiatrists, as well as the public, to be able to bring across, from a patient's point of view, what mental health is really all about, dealing with it. And I know that Wayne, he's helped me out a great deal in, preparing for that, as well as everything else that I prepare on. So I'm really excited about that, and I know you are too, Wayne.
Yeah, I think it's one of the things that you do. You have many things that you try to take care of and that you do, and one of them, of course, is getting out there into the public and face-to-face, speaking with people, bringing your story, your experiences, and then also getting feedback of what people are talking about. So you bring a lot of, you really, it's almost like a perfect storm kind of. You have the experience in the field with medical billing, especially a lot of years, so you're used to the jargon.
Yep.
The intensive therapy that you and I both been through,
right.
You get to see that jargon, you get to see the stuff being used. But now to get out there and then talk about your experiences in there, so they get to hear from a person who's been in the program and been through these programs, what your impression of them is, what your perception of them or your experiences. They get to hear back like, oh, those are the kind of things we like to hear, or is that really what we're doing?
Right.
A lot of it is, none of us are perfect. We don't ever know what exactly is happening in the universe, but we can only talk about our own experiences, and they get to hear that from somebody who's had a lot of experience, and I think the talks always go really well. You get a lot of positive feedback on that.
They really do, because what's happened is that I used to say, being in the medical field, there's a sort of protocol that you deal with. So when you talk to a doctor, when you talk to a therapist, psychiatrist, you have a certain amount of respect for that individual, and you respect their education that they've been through. And so I used to, kind of say, well, I know that you guys know more than I do, but this is how I feel. And eventually what finally came out from some of them, they finally came out and said, you know what? You're the expert today, not us. And in fact, when I started thinking about it, I've got 20 years compared to their 8, so it's like, so it's definitely came across in a way that it was helpful to me, to where all of a sudden I was empowered to be able to advocate, for the patient's point of view, on a number of different subjects, not just mental health, but on a number of different subjects, talking about PTSD, which we're going to talk about tonight, talking about mental health, regards to medications and treatments and so forth, and giving that patient's point of view is something that's very important for them to understand so that they can learn and improve, share, just as much as what we do here.
And then the other thing is, like I mentioned, one of the benefits of getting out there in public is being able to talk back directly from the people. They get to communicate directly with you. But hey, people on the show, they can communicate directly with us.
Right.
It's not quite maybe as two-way or direct as it might be in person, but if you're watching this live on YouTube, through any of our, through Facebook or however you're getting it, but it's ultimately through YouTube, you can click and join the conversation, and what it'll do is it'll open up a question and answer really it's a question asking feature where you can type a question to us, to Shane, to me, whoever we have guests. You can get your questions in now, get them in early, and you can start steering the conversation a little bit with your questions and your input. And that's just by clicking on join the conversation right there in your video window. It pops up. It's like a little on-screen ad, but it'll your screen may flicker a little bit. It may change the format, but you won't be losing the show. You'll be getting the question window in there, and you'll be able to get in and type a question to us, and then you can communicate directly with us. It may take us a while to get you. We may not specifically say, here's a question from, but you can definitely change the direction of the conversation by the types of questions that you're asking, because we're going to try and answer those questions as best we can.
Yeah, in one way or another, you're going to get your answer that you're looking for. And if I don't answer it right on the show, you can rest assured I'm going to contact you either by direct message or by phone even to be able to get that message across, my answer to whatever question that would be. And we learned that, from one of our members, at the Arisen Strength family. Nellie, she went ahead and she asked a question, and there it was. It popped up, and it's like, where the heck did that thing come from? And it was like, oh, this is cool. They can ask questions. That's exactly what we're looking for. It's one of the things that we've been trying to get to work out for the show and everything, so that we can have communication back and forth. And we plan on doing that more often. We're doing a lot of different things, lately. This week, we were able to utilize some equipment that I ran across to where we were able to do some voiceovers in regards to the commercials and so forth. That way everybody doesn't have to read like a whole paragraph, 2-3 paragraphs about what the show's about. They can actually hear it from my voice, and getting an understanding exactly my thoughts and my conviction about the show, and then we were able to do the final post. We were able to give instructions on how to get to the show, because I know that that's been part of an issue, is where people ask, because we don't have a website and we're not on TV, it's like it's kind of difficult in order to explain where to go. But we were able to do that, this time. So, we've been doing a lot of different things. One of the different things that we did is that we worked with, we started a dedicated effort towards donorship, we have our two groups. Well, actually, one's a group and one's a page. The Essential Needs group, of which is, for those who are in line for donorship, whatever that case may be. Maybe it might be an organ donor. Maybe it might be the need for hair for a cancer patient, or maybe it might be blood or bone marrow, whatever the case may be. That's what that group's for. And a lot of people have been saying, well, that's going pretty slow. Well, I made it very clear that this is probably going to be one of the hardest things that we ever do, and that that it was going to take some time. It was going to take a dedicated effort, and over time, it's going to be a lot of work. But there's no doubt in my mind we're going to have one of the best rewards from it.
Okay, we're in for the long haul. This is a marathon, not a sprint.
Exactly. That's exactly it. And and then we have our page, of which is the human factor. And the reason why we call it the human factor is because it's the human choice to be a donor, and to be helpful in this situation, this cause. And this page is to educate. It's to encourage donorship. It's to educate people on donorship. There's a lot of different rules and policies in different states and so forth. It's also for advocacy. It's a term of advocacy where we can actually bring about some change regards to the stigma and the questions that donorship brings. So it's like it's one of those where we plan on being able to talk about we talk about different things regards to donorship, and that's what we're really looking forward to. And another thing that we're really looking forward to, and I know that you're kind of excited about it, we're actually having our first public event for Arisen Strength, as to where we're going to have an event that's going to be a pretty much an all-day thing, as to where we're going to bring awareness to many different subjects, whether it be mental illness, whether it be autism, whether it be donorship. We're going to have a tent right there for regards to the essential needs and so forth. So and bone marrow as well. So we got a lot of different things. We're really excited. We got a lot of different things that are going on. We got a few more exciting announcements that we're going to be doing. Maybe on Thursday. I know it's a cliffhanger, but maybe on Thursday we'll have something in place. For some of the things that we got going on.
Yeah, we had that recap show on Thursday where we kind of clear up any loose ends that we may have left dangling out there, clear up any misunderstandings, maybe get a little bit more in depth with something that we mentioned that, hey, we should spend more time talking about that, but time constraints, we just can't talk about everything.
Right.
So the Thursday recap show is you're kind of behind the scenes or an after show. But that's a great place to tune in to get some of the announcements too for the stuff that we get to talk about later on. Yeah.
And that's one of the things. One of the things that I can announce is that starting tomorrow, on Monday, I'm actually going to be co-hosting with Maria Guerra in her conference call. She utilizes conference call. It's a podcast. She actually uses a conference call to bring awareness to many different subjects in a way of positivity, and advocacy. And I'm really looking forward to doing that with her. We're going to start that tomorrow. It's called Our Voices. And it's something that we're building again. It's something that Maria really wants to do, and I'm really looking forward to doing that with her. So that's going to start tomorrow night at 7:30, and we will definitely be promoting that with the number so that you can call in and be part of the show. So I see one camera has gone down. Are we losing it again?
We may have lost the camera.
Oh, we're back. Okay, the one camera's back. Okay, so tonight we are going to talk about PTSD, folks. That's post-traumatic stress disorder. That's something that I know a lot about, and it's something that I can talk about for a long period of time. But this show is to bring awareness to post-traumatic stress disorder, because there are many people that are out there that actually have this condition and don't know it. And that's something that I can attest to is very dangerous in life. And that's something that, I want to do our best in order to be able to bring awareness to this condition, the symptoms of it, the stigma of it, as well as the way to be able, the treatments that are out there to be able to deal with the challenges of post-traumatic stress disorder or PTSD. In fact, we're going to have a special guest. Her name is Mary Ann Parker. Mary Ann is a Gulf War veteran, who deals with this condition of PTSD on a day-to-day basis just as much as I do. And I think between the two of us, I think we can bring a pretty good version of what it is that a patient or a person goes through while having the challenge of this condition. So, Wayne, I know you're excited about having Mary Ann with us.
Yeah, this is a great opportunity to bring somebody in who's had some. She's going to share her experiences with us. And that's really one of the things that we do here. I mean, that's one thing I like about that human factor page. Mm-hmm. Is the key there is that it's about the people. Shane likes to talk about the doctors treat the patient. We like to deal with the people. We like to engage with the people. And really, in that note, we're not here to give medical advice. We're here to share experiences within the medical community. We're definitely big advocates for seeking professional advice, because when you try to do it on your own, you end up with that water on a grease fire. It's like people with the best intentions just don't have quite the information that they need
to announce you
to make great to make the right step, take the right steps forward. And so by seeking professional advice, you can start cutting through a lot of myths, a lot of just that water that's just going to spread the grease fire and cause some issues. So, we're not doctors, we're not medical experts, we're not medical professionals, or we're definitely not trying to give anybody any medical advice, but we're just trying to talk about the issues, talk about our experiences, and then also recommending that, hey, you should listen to your doctors. Not necessarily that you have to follow blindly what they say. Second opinions are great. We're big fans of that. But try and get your professional medical opinions and information from the medical professionals. But definitely listen to other people's experiences and see how they deal with it and what kind of things they go through.
Yeah, we're absolutely, it's like Wayne said, and what I say all the time is that, we're here to support the person while the professional treats the patient. There's a lot of different stuff. There's a lot of technical jargon, a lot of medical terminology that I personally know, but I don't like to bring into the show because I personally think that there are better ways of being able to bring awareness to the average individual that is out there that's dealing with this. It's not always a professional in the medical field that's dealing with these types of issues, and so it's not the easiest thing to understand, so that's why we do it that way. So we are really happy to have our special guest tonight. Her name is Marianne Parker. Marianne, can you hear us? Oh, hang on, Marianne.
We got to put the speakers on.
Bear with me.
Put the phone on speaker.
Try now, Marianne.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you fine now.
Okay.
Okay, great.
So, Marianne, thanks for joining the show.
Oh, no problem. Happy to be here.
Yeah, we've done quite a few shows together, actually. I just enjoyed having Marianne on a show with me to where we're able to kind of tag team together our different experiences regards to our challenges with PTSD especially, along with a couple other things, but mainly for the PTSD. And so, I asked Marianne to be part of our show, and she gladly agreed to it. I know she's not feeling the best today, but she's doing the best that she can in order to be able to be here. So, if you get a chance to be able to say hi to her, I'm sure that she'll take the time to talk to you. And when you do that, say thank you, for joining us here at the show. Okay, Marianne. So now you have PTSD, and I know why you have PTSD. But why don't you give us some insight?
Well, I initially noticed I had problems like right after Desert Storm. I went to Desert Storm in 1991, and when I came home from Desert Storm, I had problems when I would hear the fire engine or the police sirens, any loud noises. It would give me anxiety to the point of panic. And I didn't really ever have nightmares, but those sounds, made my heart race, and I was already having high blood pressure and anxiety since Desert Storm, and so I didn't really know, put a name to it as PTSD. So basically, the VA treated me with just medicine, to give me, different antidepressants, and I was on Xanax. They had me on Xanax for 14 years.
Mm.
And so I was dealing with that. I was having severe anxiety for 14 years, and I would have, sometimes to the point of panic. I especially get upset and agitated when there was news on TV about sending troops to Iraq or Afghanistan. That would, cause me a lot of trouble.
Mm-hmm.
So in late 2007, I moved down to Miami because there's a Gulf War illness doctor at the Miami VA, and so I moved down so I could see her for one of my other chronic conditions that I've had from Desert Storm. And when I was being examined by the primary care, Well, actually, let me go back. One night I was having anxiety so bad, and I went to the VA emergency room at the Miami VA, and they have a psychiatrist on duty, and 24/7 in the emergency room. And so I was having such bad anxiety. So then she had put a note to my primary care that I was assigned to, and then first they put me in anger management group.
Right.
And with other women, and that didn't work out too well because the women just bickered with each other, and I didn't really understand why I was in the anger management. So then they referred me to a PTSD psychologist and a PTSD psychiatrist, and then we went over my history. And, they had asked me if I had had any military sexual trauma, and I had told them, yes, I did have traumatic events within, 4 to 5 months after joining the Air Force. I was raped by a sergeant in my squadron in my dormitory room. Mm. So all those years I had been suffering the effects of that traumatic event, along with Desert Storm, that compounded the anxiety, and so they put me into an intensive therapy program. I had PTSD therapy for 4 years, and I can say now that only once in a while do I need anxiety medicine. I did almost every kind of PTSD therapy there is, and it was so beneficial. It was a lifesaver, actually. I didn't realize how bad I had needed the therapy until I was in the therapy, and about halfway through, like a year or so in, I realized that that's what the missing piece of the puzzle for the past 23 years or more. Right. That I was suffering from the effects of PTSD.
Yeah, Marianne, did you? Maybe I missed it. Did you know that you had PTSD, or were you?
Oh, I never, really. I mean, I knew that like right after in 1992, I knew that the fire engines were causing me distress, and it was making my heart race. But I never equated it to PTSD, because in my mind, PTSD had always been discussed in the Air Force as Vietnam veterans having PTSD. Yeah. So in my mind, at that time, and being ignorant on the topic, I only thought associated Vietnam vets with PTSD, and I didn't associate with any of the symptoms I was having with any with a PTSD diagnosis.
Right. Right. Yeah, I mean it's Wayne. Marianne kind of brings up something in my own situation. I've never been in the military. I mean, I went to a military Catholic school, which might as well have been the military with some of the actions that were taken. But I've never been in the military, and it used to be that PTSD was specified for military personnel only. Because of the illness, and because it was such a tragic, abrupt change in life.
Yeah, it was one where you see it with the young men and women going off to war, and it's been, early back in those days it was mostly men going into combat, but certainly women were in combat areas, serving in lots of different ways. I mean, maybe not on the front line shooting weapons, even though that probably happened and people still talk about it. But okay, I'm not making up things. But it goes back, it really is kind of being understood. Over the last 100 years, we've gone from, in World War I, I guess the phrase they used was shell shock. Right. And if you read some of the stories of what it was like serving in the trenches of World War I, you can understand that some of these people, it really did a number on them, and it was really noticeable. It turned out this has probably been going on for thousands of years, right. But we started really noticing it, and it really started to. And then later on, in the mid part of the century, World War II and in the Vietnam War, they used the word battle fatigue. Coming out of the Vietnam, that's when they finally came up with the phrase, post-traumatic stress disorder. And even then, it was only beginning to just capture a little bit of the experience. That it was, militaries were seeing it because you're putting people in situations that it's just not normal situations for humans to be in.
Right.
And a lot of it is this punctuated, event or a series of events that just kind of, as the word shell shock really kind of comes out, or even battle fatigue.
Mm-hmm.
But now it's seeing it more. It's not just people with military experience. Mary Ann talked about, she actually got her military experience with Desert Storm, but then she also mentioned the fact that she was raped by a sergeant in the dorm.
Sure.
That PTSD, and a lot of sexual assault cases, rape cases, the victims suffering traumatic, post-traumatic stress disorder, certainly the symptoms of them, and no doubt the disease. And then there's even the wider thing, and so in the last 20 years, that I'm starting to talk about a little bit more, is this complex PTSD, CPTSD,
right.
which is for people, it is maybe more along the line for people who maybe weren't in a single traumatic event, and maybe weren't in the military, but you lived your life in a situation where, maybe under, whatever the situation, that hardship, series of events, long-term exposure to, stressful living,
yeah.
And so there's this complex PTSD, which is now that's starting to become. It's not an official diagnosis yet in the DSM-5.
Right.
But it's starting to look a lot like personality disorder. And hey, maybe there's something else going on here that we call it personality disorder, like it's the person. Oh, you got personality disorder, or maybe more than their experiences, and then we can. Because if we can get to the root cause, it's a lot easier to treat it. And Mary Ann talked about that. That was a great, recap there. Just without really knowing what's going on, they just try anything. But a lot of times that try anything doesn't help. Whether it's put somebody in anger management. Well, it's not an anger management problem. No. Here, take Xanax for 14 years. Benzos are not meant for a long-term treatment. I mean, you don't take Xanax for 14 years. That's just treat a symptom and not even worry about what's causing it. But when she started getting information and getting with the right doctors and getting the right treatment for what was actually going on, it makes a big difference. Is it a 100% miracle cure? No. But it's being able to get out and finally start living your life a little bit. You're not relegated to just being on Xanax all day long and with really no hope of But now there's open. Okay, I went on for too long.
Well, it's funny how you bring up complex PTSD, because I am looking at it more and more. I actually have both. I have PTSD from an event or a number of events that have happened in my lifetime, as well as the complexity of PTSD, and that is, well, like you said, it's over a prolonged period of time. It's where, like there's a lot of different components to it. Whether it be that you feel entrapped, and when it says entrapped, it doesn't necessarily mean like a kidnapping or anything like that. It means like you're trapped within your own situation. Whether it be your family situation wasn't all that well. In my case, I was trapped within myself. You know what I mean? Because like I said in the beginning when we started these shows, I did not like myself. I hated myself. I was my own worst enemy to the extreme. As to where I didn't like my voice, I didn't like my looks, my name, or anything like that. I was entrapped in myself. So I was constantly going through that part, and then dealing with some things, as to where it was like, there were some things as to where I wasn't being acknowledged the way or validated the way that I needed to feel, because again, we talk about distorted thoughts and stuff like that. I had to validate what was going on inside me, and what was going on inside me was a world of hurt. So I would do a whole lot of blaming, and I would do a whole lot of like distorted thinking as to where it's like people just don't understand me, and kind of like a learned helplessness. So the complexity of PTSD, that goes with me, as well as events that I've had. I mean, I've had car accidents. I've had a stock car, flipping inside the pits, of which, I pushed somebody out of the way, to take the brunt of the motor and all that to hit onto me. So that was kind of a traumatic situation. I was very sick. When I was younger, I had double pneumonia. So I had to go through that. I don't, a lot of these things happen. I would like Marianne, unfortunately, when I was in Albany Med here in the local hospital, they did a lot of psychological testing with me, and they came back to me and they said, you have post-traumatic stress disorder, and they were able to somehow point it to sexually, that it was a sexual situation, in which case there's three components in regards to PTSD. There is fear for life, or suppressed, to the point, to the extreme, or sexual abuse. And so they were able to pinpoint it, and I said, no, that can't be me, because that I didn't have anything like that happen in my family. And I didn't, but I did have something happen inside a homeless shelter where I was taken advantage of by two individuals in the homeless shelter. So, so I lied, and because I didn't really want to go through remembering that. And it's funny how the action of that happening to me really isn't what terrifies me. What terrifies me is that a friend of mine was in a bed next door, and he saw that there was something going on, and he had a cane. And he slammed his cane down, and it hit the foot of the bed, and it made this huge crash sound, and that sound terrifies me. It terrifies me more than the action of me being taken advantage of. Marianne, do you have any similar instances like that? I mean, is there anything other than the actual the actual situation where you were taken advantage of? Was there any like noise, or was there any type of smell or anything that kind of set you off?
No, PTSD triggers. No, the only trigger I had is the ones that from the related to Saudi Arabia, the fire engine and the police sirens. And the ambulances. That's the only triggers I really had.
Right.
But the PTSD from the military sexual trauma was really insidious, and I just didn't know. I just didn't know all those years how it had affected me as a young woman, and it had affected my whole being and my whole choice in life and things like that, and. Once you get treated of those things and you're able to look back on your past and see how the trauma has affected your life, it's really eye-opening.
Yeah.
Hey, Marianne, this is Wayne. I have a question about that. Can you talk a little bit in specifics about what the treatment was like, how it was different than, say, just a regular anger management, or different than just taking medication?
Yeah.
What the therapy itself was like?
First I started out in a mixed group, men and women, for military sexual trauma and PTSD, and so we learned about we learned different types of therapy. Like we learned the ACT, the acceptance and commitment therapy.
Right.
Where you put your you write down what situation happened to you during the week that caused you distress. And you write down that event, and then you put how you could have looked at it differently.
Sure.
And you rate your what emotions you're feeling when you were in the situation, and what emotions you're feeling when you're writing it down on the piece of paper, thinking about it. And then you have a column for reframing how you could have thought about what happened, or who said what, how you could reframe that and look at it from a different perspective. And then those sheets, at first they were a pain, and I didn't really do them at first because it was homework,
Right.
And but once I committed to the therapy and I started doing those sheets, we besides the talk therapy in the group, we did those ACT sheets for 3 or 4 months, and then I moved on. We moved on to exposure therapy, which was you're talking in the group about what are things that you can't do because of the PTSD. How isolated are you? And different people in the group were at various stages of isolation or how they could function in public. So in the exposure therapy, you pick something that's really that you really haven't been able to do in years, because of anxiety from the PTSD or the different social anxiety and things like that from the situation. And you slowly expose yourself to it. Like for instance, for myself, I had isolated myself for so many years, from anxiety and depression, and so I hadn't really, I had quit going to the beach, and I had quit going to the malls, and just quit living basically, and just going back and forth to the VA hospital or other hospitals for my appointments. So I had told the therapist in there, and I chose to go to the beach, to try the exposure therapy, to go to the beach and be around a bunch of people at the beach by my house, and it would go week by week, as far as how you were progressing. So the first week, I went over there to the beach, and I looked around at all the people out there, and I went back home. Yeah. And then, the next week, and then each week you tell how you're coming along, and how you feel about it, and what kind of symptoms, if you're having any symptoms. So then, the second week I went back to the beach, and I sat out there for, 15 or 20 minutes just in my, t-shirt and shorts. So then gradually I was able to go out there, and with the help of involvement therapy that we had in the group, I was actually able to go out there and, in my bathing suit and have a whole afternoon and enjoy myself just like back in the old days,
mm-hmm.
Before all the trauma happened to me. So that was very helpful. And then, so I was in the group therapy for about 15 months, and we tried different types we did the ACT therapy, acceptance and commitment, and then we did the exposure therapy, and then we did talk therapy, based on how comfortable you were able to tell what's going on in front of a whole group of men and women, a mixed group. And then from there, I graduated to individual one-on-one, more intensive type of therapy.
Right.
Yeah, where it was just stop me if I'm going on. If
No.
You ask me a question or something.
No, I'm gonna stop you. Now you did did you say did you do hypnotherapy?
No, I didn't do any hypnotherapy.
You didn't do any. Yeah, that didn't work very well for me. I mean, for me, the situation is that I had all these. I had a number of things that happened. Hell, I had 4 broken arms. You know what I mean? And not one of them was done, in my sleep. I was like, little Evel Knievel, and so I've been in some dramatic situations as to where, I broke my arm and going through all that. But the thing is that, like what Marianne is talking about, how she wasn't able to do things, she was suppressed, right? Which we talk about all the time with Arisen strength. I was a little bit different. I did things. I was in total denial. I was just in total denial that there was something that was mentally or physically wrong with me. Like for instance, if somebody was to, like, if I was playing a football game or something like that and people tackle me, I would go insane. I went, and I used to think that it was just because I was claustrophobic, but it wasn't even close to that. And it was like an anguish, as to where if I was being held down, that would be a problem. You know, and the way that I found these things out, and that's why I asked Marianne if she had, you know, what type of treatments that she did and everything. While I was in denial and so forth, I was going through hell. I was still, you know, I mean, I had a, you know, my mind was distorted thinking, you know, saying that, you know, I'm going to be in pain for the rest of my life in some manner, you know, as to where, you know, I don't go into restaurants unless if I'm in the table to where I can see the door. You know, I mean, I know exactly where the escape routes are. I know where somebody's going to be coming in. You know, you follow me? Because and that's what, like, my aunt always used to say. Well, you know, you're always holding on to the negative. And I used to look at her like she had 3 different heads, because I'm not a negative guy. You know, it's like I go out of my way in order to try to be nice and try to think the best of people. You know, so I would look at her strangely. But as I learned about this, I came to realize that it wasn't so much that I was always holding on to the negative. I was prepared for the negative. I was prepared for the most negative thing that could happen, and that would be a danger towards me. You know, so that was one of the things that was me. And for me, you know, I was in intensive therapy, and I'm sitting at a table, and I can remember this like it was just an hour ago. You know, and I'm sitting at a table, and people are going over different symptoms of things, of, you know, what they go through and everything. And it was just really like ringing my head, you know, it was like a bell each time that they would say something that I could identify with. And I finally just jumped up and I said, "What is that? Tell me what that is, because I live with that. I need to know what that is." And I had no idea what it was. And then it came to find out, you know, they look at me like I'm crazy, and they sit there and they say, "Well, that's PTSD. You know, that's post-traumatic stress disorder." And then I realized I'm in a PTSD group, so it made sense. You know, but it was one of those things is to where I had no idea that this was happening with me. And my way of things, and Marianne, tell me if you kind of felt that way too, is that why do I want to remember something that I just want to forget anyways? You know, I mean, that's
right, yeah.
that's how I was. I didn't want to know about it. I didn't want to think about it. I just wanted to get over it. I wanted to get by it, get through it, whatever, you know, and be done with it. You know, but then I didn't realize how bad my instincts are, you know, based off of my challenges. And one of my challenges is PTSD. So, like, my instinct, like I said, if I go into a restaurant, I know where everything is. I know where all the doors are. I know what's going on. Wayne and I, we joke about it all the time. If there is a car door that's outside the front of the house and it closes, I know who's getting out of that car. I know I can hear a voice. I can hear a voice from a very far distance and be aware who that individual is. And Wayne would just look at me. He just let it go, will you please? But, you know, I mean, it was one of those things as to where it's like, I can't let that go. That's my instinct. That's the way that I
I'd say we kind of chuckle and laugh a little bit, only because we live with it and we deal with it. But it is definitely 100% real serious business. And, you know, we're making the effort, both of us, and Mary, you know, to get the treatment. So if we kind of laugh and chuckle about it, we're not making light of it. Right. And I think Marianne made a great point when she was talking about when she was just getting into this therapy. Now, there's this period of time until you can buy into it. It's not an overnight, oh, I'm all of a sudden fixed. It's like anything else in your life. In order to change your perspective, to change the way you look at something, it takes a little bit of time. It takes a lot of faith, and it takes a little bit of time. And over time, slowly, you start getting it. You start getting it. You know, you go from thinking of it as a homework assignment to, hey, look at this is actually something I think, you know, I'm buying into it. You know, I see a lot with, I deal with a lot of people within recovery from alcohol abuse is mine, and we see a lot of these new people, and the things you say to them, and it just is like in one ear, out the other, or they can't ever imagine never drinking again, or, you know, whatever the little thoughts they have in their head. You know, we all do this. You know, it's our old way of thinking is like an anchor, and sometimes that's a good thing, but sometimes that anchor is weighing us down, and we have to let go of our old way of thinking, and we have to be willing to embrace something new, and that embracing takes time.
Well, I mean, it's like the last show, or the show before that, with depression, where I went over the written piece that I did, I want my money back. It's a lot to do with my instincts. It's a lot to do with how I felt inside. You know what I mean? And it's like I had no idea why the hell I felt the way that I did. I just knew that I did, and I didn't know what to do about it. And it was to the point as to where it was uncontrollable. It was to the point as to where, like Mary Ann said that she went to anger management. I know exactly why you do that. I know exactly why they set you up to go to anger management for that. It doesn't make sense because it's like, I'm not an angry guy. Why would I need anger management?
Right.
Well, the thing is that anger is going to happen one way or another. It's going to happen either inwardly or it's going to happen exteriorly, outwardly. So that's why they automatically say, okay, you need anger management right off the bat. That's the first thing that they're going to do, because they don't know everything about this. Unless if they have it, they can't know. So they know that you're going to be angry about something, whether it be to yourself. And that's a big thing for me. It's like when it came to my situation, I have utter self-loathing, for when I deal with my PTSD symptoms, because I put myself in my distorted mind. I put myself into the situation to where I could get hurt one way or another, whether it be physically and or mentally. So it was like, so my deal was, here it is, I would have these PTSD symptoms going on within me, and then the very next thing, like instantly, is self-loathing, which was the severe depression. And that's very common when it comes to PTSD. That's Marianne, we might be losing you on the phone, so if it hangs up, don't be mad. We'll call you back.
Okay.
Okay. So that's one of the things with me. It's like we actually got a question from Michelle. As to where she wanted to know, what does it feel like inside your body when you're having PTSD? Well, I can tell you, I had an instance not that long ago, and Wayne can say for sure. I was actually listening to motivational videos on YouTube, and I'm sitting there and I'm trying to, that's the thing that I do, right? Is to distract myself, to get through the day, whatever, to get hyped up and strong. Okay, so I'm watching the video, and just on one of those videos happens to be their logo is doors closing. And when I say doors, I mean like big doors, like you would find in like a courtroom, and it went wham! And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I hear this. Well, I had a situation where I've had some situations with guns, and deals with my PTSD. I've been shot at. So it's like what happened was that instantly I went paralyzed. I was literally paralyzed. My brain was frozen. My body was constantly like tight. My chest was tight. My nerves were just like overactive. My mind was subconsciously, I was like, fear, it's either flight or fight, and mine's instantly to fight. So what happens is that I fight and I got tense, and next thing you know, I'm paralyzed. And I actually, this is no exaggeration, I texted Wayne on Facebook, and I said, I am having a PTSD moment. And he said, are you okay? And I said, no, I can't move. You remember that day?
Yeah.
I mean, it was like, it was one of those things just where I just could not move. And, and then another situation is to where, not that long ago, about a month and a half ago, I have PTSD symptoms within me, and it happened to be, I went back to some therapy to where my best friend, I went to, my best friend and I, we went to the same type of therapy. He's passed away tragically. And the last time that I saw him was the last time that I was at this therapy. Well, all of a sudden, I had these PTSD symptoms going 24/7. It was like somebody took the switch and just left it on and walked away. And here it is. I'm like constantly fully aware everywhere. I know, it's like I'm on like this hyperdrive. And so it's like, so I sat there, and it was like 4 or 5 days is where I have PTSD symptoms straight right on through 24/7. You know what I mean? And sleep-wise, I don't get much sleep at all. You know that. I get about 4 hours sleep a day. And God forbid if somebody moves, they don't have to really make a whole lot of noise. If they move, I know it, and then I'm automatically up. I mean, my situation where I was sexually taken advantage of was when I was sleeping. So that's one of those things as to where, if I hear something, I'm going to wake up. So those are the types of feelings that I had. I think, what was her name that was on the autism show? She made it sound. She said, take a soda bottle and shake it up, and just put your thumb over the top of it, and just wait and see what happens. That was pretty much what it is that I felt, and she probably has PTSD because of what it is that she couldn't get out. She was constantly being suppressed over time, so it's not out of the realm of possibility. That's what she was feeling.
How about for you, Marianne? When you felt the symptoms when they were at their strongest, how would you describe what was happening in your body, the physical sensations?
My heart would be racing, and my chest would get real tight. I'd have chest pain, and I would think I was, might be having a heart attack.
Well.
And I would break out into sweat, sweat a lot, and usually that was pretty much it. Or sometimes I would get anxious to the point where my hands might shake a little bit.
Yeah.
But that was basically the only, really the most difficult senses I had.
Yeah, like my fingertips would tingle and they would ache. It was like because they were constantly, because like one of the things that I do is I constantly, it's almost like electric comes out of my fingertip. As to where like I'm trying to work my way through or distract my way through, and I'll just flex my hands or my muscles, and it creates obviously an aching, and it's like it's just one of those things as to where it feels uncontrollable. It feels as if like it's never going to end either. It's almost like you open up this can and it's never going to end. It's going to be the same from now on forever. And it's like hell, I had a stroke. You know what I mean? I had a minor stroke not that long ago. It's where it's a distinct possibility that it was a residual effect of what it is that I was going through, because it wasn't that far off from when I had the PTSD for 4 or 5 days straight. So those are the types of feelings with PTSD. Marianne, we're coming up on an hour. So with your treatment, you said that you learned how to manage it, how to live with your PTSD for the most part, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. It doesn't bother me. Now the thing that will upset me the most and trigger the PTSD symptoms is usually something with when ISIS beheaded the journalist.
Oh yeah.
In overseas, that gave me a lot of anxiety and problems. And anytime I hear about having to send more troops over to Afghanistan or some other place, that it causes me a little bit of anxiety, but it doesn't cause me as much distress as I used to have. It's 99% better. I can deal with it a lot better, and I don't have the anxiety that I used to have. And Thank goodness.
Yeah,
So,
that
I was gonna say you have a lot less of the isolation. You feel like you're getting out and doing some of the things that
Oh
you
yeah,
like
I'm
to
able
do.
to get out more now. I get out of my apartment at least once a day. You know, I have to go to the VA hospital a lot, but you know, I try to get out and be around people. You know, outside the VA hospital, I don't really count that. But like when I come home, I always make an effort to go uptown or go to Starbucks or go somewhere to the grocery store to get around people.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like one of the things that another part of my PTSD is that I would go to work. Now I'm a pretty healthy guy. I used to box. I used to I played golf forever. You know, I would go to work and I would do a lot. I mean, I had my own business, so 24/7 wasn't out of the realm of possibility. But when I would get home and I would be done with dealing with all the outside triggers, I'd fall asleep. It's like I'd sit there and I'd be on the couch and I would be with my girlfriend at the time, or actually my ex-fiance, and she would get angry with me, because here it is, I work so hard and I play a lot, so why can't you be there for me, type of thing. And I couldn't answer her, what I mean? All I know, and I couldn't argue with her either, because I would sit there and I would, I would end up being to the point as to where I would, find myself snoring. You know what I mean? It's like that's just the way it was. I was in a deep sleep, and and she would get very upset with me. Well, comes to find out that that's part of my PTSD, because my mind, my brain is on a constant awareness of everything that's going on all day long, and eventually you fall out. You know what I mean? You end up being exhausted. There's only so much you could take. So it's like, so that's just one of those things. Now, as Marianne, with her treatment, then I'll tell you, just being aware of what it is that was out there when it came to PTSD, for me, was the biggest thing. You know what I mean? It's like,
definitely.
I just to be aware of it. Just to be aware that I was gonna, I was gonna go through these times as to where I felt paralyzed, or where I felt that something was wrong on a constant basis, or that it's like we talk about. One of my things that I have is extreme codependency. I want to rescue everybody. You know what I mean? Anybody who's in any type of situation, I want to be that guy who's going to be able to help them and fix the situation for them. That's one of the things. Specifically that's where complex PTSD is one of the things. Perfectionism is another one. Is another symptom of complexity PTSD, because if you are perfect, you got it distorted in your head. If you're perfect, you're not going to get hurt. You know what I mean? If you do things the exact way that everybody wants you to do them, there's no way that you could get hurt. And abandonment is another one that's in regards to complexity, because again, you're just constantly thinking of, you're not thinking of it, you're just subconsciously aware and just prepared for the very worst to happen. And in my case, abandonment was one of those things. So finding out these things, finding out that these things are part of what's going on within me, and then learning that it's categorized as PTSD and it's not categorized as crazy, made a big difference for me, and so so that's why the awareness of it, that's why we tell anybody, that when it comes to these types of situations, is to find a doctor, so that they can talk, to you about it and get you to the point where you can get some help and some awareness, so that you can then take over, so that you can say, okay, now, it's like the Serenity Prayer, accept the things that you can't change, but have the courage to change the things that you can. Marianne goes home, she goes out and she takes a walk when she gets the opportunity. She gets out when she gets the opportunity. I kind of throw myself out in the middle of everybody, in order to be able to get to that point.
Yeah, we're all on these personal journeys,
Yep.
and you got to find what works for you. Marianne talked about going to the beach was one of the things that worked for her. And this, I mean, we're not telling everybody, hey, start going to the beach, you're going to get over your
No.
PTSD.
No.
You know,
No, not at all.
don't take that message. Take the message of, you know, she put the effort in. She found what worked for her. She found it because one of the things is she looked to the professional help. So, but yeah, we're not way over, but the time, like a snap tonight, went way back, way by. We're like at 9:30 already.
You know, it started at 8:30, right?
Oh, that's right. I'm thinking, wow.
Yeah, remember when Google had done it? It's like, yeah, okay. So,
I
anyways.
managed to suppress all that.
But you know, it's one of those things as to where hopefully we brought some awareness and some insight as to what PTSD is for the person, not just for the patient and for the psychiatrist and the psychologist to work with, but for the person to deal with. And you know, it's like, Marianne, I know I use distraction a lot, you know, when it comes to my symptoms, you know, and like
distraction every day.
Right, exactly. Every day I wake up and you know, and I say a prayer first and foremost, and then the very next thing I do is I start looking at motivational videos to where it kind of gets me to that point, is to where it gets me to want to get up and get moving and get things done, you know, for the day. So, you know, those are the types of things. Distraction helps. Awareness helps. Mindfulness helps. You know, it's like, you know, and when I say mindfulness, for those who, you know, who go to have therapists for treatment, ask them about it, because it's something that's very important. Realizing that what is now is now. It doesn't mean that it's forever, and it doesn't mean that it's going to go away right away. You know, but it's a combination of the two. It's like you have your emotional mind and you have your logical mind, and in most cases we are on one side or the other, and then there's a thing that's called what, Wayne?
Wise mind.
The wise mind, which is in the middle. And that is, in the closer that you bring your emotional and your logical, that's where you come to your wise mind, to where you find that peace. And I know Marianne knows a little bit about, you know, being mindful. And
mindfulness is a lifesaver.
Right.
Mindfulness, that was one of the major keys to my recovery from treatment from PTSD.
Right.
Mindfulness was a huge part of it.
Yeah.
Once I learned mindfulness, everything got a lot better real quick.
And that comes from DBT or CBT, cognitive behavior therapy, and dialectical behavior therapy. You know, I mean, these are, I call it diabolical, you know, behavior therapy, to joke around, you know, but if I didn't have it, to be honest with you, I wouldn't have known, you know, that, you know, I'm to the extreme. I knew I was to the extreme. I just didn't have any clue that there was any way of getting to the middle, to that wise mind. You know, and that wise mind is what allows you to get through these types of things. Not just PTSD, but through other different things, through pain, through different you know, emotions, through days that are tough, challenging, and struggling. You know, the wise mind is what allows you to be able to get through that hour, to get through that day, get through that week, whatever it takes, in order to get through it so that you can get to that good day. And when you have that good day, you live that good day to the fullest. And that's what Arisen Strength is really all about. So we're a little bit past an hour, you know, and I just want to say thank you to everybody who watched the show, you know, and thank you for your patience, you know, because we went through Arisen Strength right from the beginning. You know, Marianne, thanks for joining us. It really has been a pleasure.
Thank you, Marianne.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Well, it's not going to be the last. I promise you that. So.
Okay.
So now, if you want to contact us, you know, there's a couple ways of doing that. You can call. You can contact us by email. You know, which is called arisenstrength@gmail.com. Then we also are on Twitter. We're getting more and more involved with Twitter. We have @ArisenStrength, you know, which is our actual page on Twitter. And then if you want to tweet to us, use #ArisenStrength, and that'll get right to us. And you can do that during the show as well, because you know, if you wanted to put a question towards us as well. And then of course we have our group page on Facebook, which is Arisen Strength, the family, which is something that that I'm very proud of. Those people that are part of that group get me. They get me through the day, on a constant basis. So that's something that you can always. It's a public group, and we invite you to join the group as well. That's about it, right?
I think it does it.
So that's about it. Next week we're going to talk about addiction. Folks, thank you for watching the show, and we'll see you on Thursday night with the recap show, the live recap show, which is brought to you by the Arisen Strength family. And then we'll see you again Sunday night, and we're going to talk about addiction.
And thanks again for Marianne for joining us tonight.
Thanks again, Marianne.
Welcome. Have a great night.
All right, have a good night.